What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Keeping It 99 with your hosts, me and Isaiah, and our special guest, Father Abraham. He's a priest at stsa in Virginia and lived in Zambia for 14 years.
That's right.
Yeah, so how was your experience in Zambia?
It was great. I mean, there's no better place to be. Isaiah, you've been there with me, so you know.
Yeah.
It's a great mission. People are beautiful. People are wonderful. It's we always think of Africa as a place that doesn't have much, but I can tell you it's the opposite. It's full of beauty and amazing people and people who love God. You got to come check it out.
So on this podcast, we'd like to talk about your service in Zambia. So I'd like to start with, like the beginning. Like, how did you know that that's like what you wanted to do? Like, how did you take that step to go serve there?
That's a great question. I think it started like just visiting on mission trips. The first time I ever went to Africa was the year 2000. Went to Kenya and went to Zambia. And before going, Abuna Anthony Mesa he went in 1998. And when he came back, the church started, talking about it. In the year 2000, he was going to go again. And I said, let me try it. It was scary because think about going to Africa and you're so comfortable in America. You just want to, at that point, to be honest, I wasn't even close to God. I was just finished graduated from George Mason University. I started working at a consulting company. And like after 1 year or 2 years, this trip came up and I said, let me just give it a try. And then I did one trip in 2000 to Kenya and Tanzania. And that trip blew my mind and just changed me forever. You know how it is, Isaiah, when you go on those trips. And then I kept doing that, short-term trips. And the year 2002, I went to Zambia in Congo, loved it. And then we started taking the high school kids to Mexico and Tampa, doing stuff around there. And then in 2004, I went back to Zambia and Congo. 2006, went back to Zambia and Congo. And then after that, that's when I was married. So me and Dai went in 2006. And then we said, we want to go back and just go for 3 to 6 months. So we told the bishop we want to come for 3 to 6 months. He said no. I said, what do you mean no? I was like, we want to come and just serve 3 to 6 months. He said, no, you're coming as a priest and you're coming to stay. I was like, no. What are you talking about? I said, well, we said 3 to 6 months. He said, no, you're coming as a priest to stay. I said, no, it's okay. So I got off the phone and hung up. I was getting ready to hang up and he said, okay, one more thing. Just pray and fast about it for a few weeks and come back to me and tell me your answer. Don't give me your answer right now. So in my mind, I was like, that's easy. I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast, and in 3 weeks, I'm going to tell him, no, thank you. And after 3 weeks, honestly, like every single day of the 3 weeks, I'll tell you the first day. The first day was, sell all you have, give to the poor, and come and follow me. Second day, when I was reading my Bible, it was a story of Abraham, how in Genesis 12, he left his family and went to another nation, and he said, you're going to be a blessing to another nation. Third day, Abuna Anthony was giving a Bible study on Wednesday night on the life of Abraham. So it was kind of like that. I don't want to prolong it, but the main thing is like every single day was a message from God saying, go, and it was no other choice. So that's kind of like a quick version of how we got into from missions, short-term trips, to this long-term, like Bishop Paul wanting us to come stay long-term. And if you really seek God and what he wants, you might get an answer that's unexpected. So then that's how we got to Zambia, stayed there 14 years, and a lot of awesome things happened there.
And like, what was your first impression of going to Zambia in general, and then as a priest?
It was hard because you're used to, you guys know, you're used to having, the simple things in life, a hot shower, a comfortable bed, any kind of food whenever you want it, easy access to the internet whenever you want it. That wasn't there. It was a bit uncomfortable. I remember the first time I came back from Africa, my first mission trip, I went into the bathroom and I was looking at the toilet and I was looking at the shower and I was like, thank you, God, for the simple things that we take for granted every day that we have. It's really like we're just thankful. Like we should be more thankful for the simple things. So my first impression, to be honest with you, of Africa and Zambia specifically, is how the Zambian people are so beautiful. They don't maybe have all the financial means and physical means, but how much they love God and worship God even in that situation. They have little, but they love much. They have little and they praise a lot. It blew me away. Sometimes we're so complicated in the West, in America, and they're so simple and so, like when I was sharing the Bible with them, they would believe it before me. I'd be like, this, and they said, yeah, it's done. We believe it. It's a simple faith. So my first impressions really were how simple their faith was, how much they had little, loved much, and how much they really believed God. God was everything to them. I think we have a lot of barriers in America that keep God like in a distance. But for them, God is up close, So that really impressed me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I went to Zambia and I came back, like the same feeling, like walking in the bathroom, like you don't realize like how much you have until you go to somewhere where there's literally nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went, like just the joy that you see on the people's faces at all times, no matter what happened, no matter what it was. Like I remember like we were giving out like stickers to kids and we ran out of stickers. And so we started giving them like the edge of the paper, like the sticker paper. And to them, like there's no difference. That's like, for them, that's as if like you gave a kid in America like a new phone. It doesn't matter what they get. They're just thankful for like what they have. So I felt like that was the number one takeaway that I took from it as well.
That's awesome. You gonna come or what? You gonna come to Zambia?
Next mission trip. Hopefully I'll be there, but
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of shots, so I don't know. I don't like shots, but we'll see.
It's worth it, man. It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth a couple of vaccines. But to continue the conversation, you spent a very long time in Zambia. You started a few churches there because there was one when you got there, correct?
There was 3 churches and 1 priest, Zambian priest, when I was there in 2007.
And it grew to?
I think there's 6 Zambian priests and 7 churches, I believe. So by the grace of God, it was, but it didn't always start like that, by the way. It was the first 3 years, I questioned why I was even there, because I couldn't relate. I didn't connect with them yet. I was still building relationships like we were talking about today. I was still building relationships with them. The 2 different cultures, American and Zambian cultures, were totally different. I was trying to bring my American ideas and all my great ideas, and I was saying, I thought I was going to come and save the day. And then the first 2 or 3 years, I was like, man, this is going nowhere. It's getting like, it was just barren. It was hard. And when I started asking God to lead instead of me lead, things changed. Here's the problem. We get in our own way. Like God wants to do something great in our life, but we get in the way and we try to think about how to do it. And we think of strategies. The best strategy is like, God, what do you need me to do? God, what is the best way I can help? And it wasn't always great. Like you mentioned, how did it grow? But that proves one thing, right? That when things are hard, stick with it. Keep allowing God to be part of it, and then something great is coming. The problem is nowadays we want something great right away. I push this button or I click on this, I scroll here, everything's in front of me. It doesn't work like that. Life with God is different. You got to keep planting, keep watering, keep planting, keep watering. And sometimes the tree is not growing, and then keep planting, keep watering, and keep trying, and then the tree will come, and then it becomes fruitful. So just got to stick with it. It was hard in the beginning. Actually, there was times when I asked God, what am I doing here? I think, God, you're wasting my time and I'm wasting your time. Let me just go back home. I wanted to go. And then I think during that time I started saying, God, okay, what do you want me to do? And I challenge your listeners and I challenge you guys to think about, hey, God, what do you want me to do for you? To pray that prayer. What do you want me to do for you? How can I help? And see what God can do. And I think this podcast is a great way that you probably say, okay, let me do something for you, God, and let me let this be a mechanism to bring you to them, to other people. And the more we say, God, tell me what to do, I'm willing to do anything for you, and then listening for the response and being ready to respond, I think that's the better way to go. Not be a superhero. I'm going to change the world. I thought I was going to be some kind of superhero, but I landed flat on my face. And then that's on my face when I was down. I was praying and said, God, what do you want me to do now? And sometimes we need that. Sometimes being down is good so that we can be on our knees praying and God can take us to the next step.
Okay, so I'm gonna switch the topic just a little bit, but I want to know what exactly did you do in Zambia? Like, what exact service did you do in Zambia?
That's a good question. So some of the main things we did were, of course, the church services. We were, my schedule every day, I can tell you, was like Tuesday, we always sat down with the deacons, and we sat down in the church, and we shared the Bible. We prayed together. We did midnight praises together, and we just shared and discussed and encouraged. And it was just like discipling the next generation deacons. It was like deacons there was like not just the deacon on Sunday you put on the tunya. Deacon there means that's your life every day. It's really another way of thinking. It's like you're full-time in the service of God. That's how it was in Acts chapter 6. Deacons were full-time. So the deacons in Zambia were like basically full-time. We'd sit down every Tuesday. Every Wednesday I sat down with the servants. My main role was to build the next generation leader so the church can be strong when I leave, right? That was, God sent me, I didn't realize it till later. God sent me there to encourage, to build, and to strengthen the local team and the local people so that they can take over. And that's what's happening now. And part of the reason why I left, I felt God saying it's time to leave so they can now take over. Your job is done. It's time for them to take over. So that's why the churches grew, the leaders grew, the congregation grew. We also had schools for orphans. So we noticed the first few years that a lot of people are not in school, even though school was free for elementary age. People were not in school, and because they couldn't pay for the uniform. The uniform was like equivalent of like $10. They couldn't afford $10 for the uniform to be in that free school. So we found them just hanging out in the church. Said, "What are you guys doing? Why aren't you in school?" We noticed that people were like 12, 13 years old, couldn't read. They couldn't do, so it started to like dawn on us that we had another role to do, that we had to get people educated. So we started by the grace of God, a school was put, and there was 3 schools, and how many people who were vulnerable and orphans came through that school are now graduates of college, they're working, they have jobs. So I got to see that life cycle in 14 years, how people went through and are now in college or graduates and working. And so we had 3 schools, we had 7 churches, we had, what else? Mission for the widows, mission for the orphans.
A hospital.
The hospital. Thank you, Isaiah. One of the biggest projects we have is a Coptic hospital, which is probably the biggest hospital in Kenya and in Zambia, and probably in Congo now. And there's one being built in Nigeria. And if people can't afford, the hospital helps them for free. So it takes people who can't afford and gives them the best health care, and they pay. And those who can't afford, that's where the hospital gives like a vulnerable case, a orphan or a widow or someone who can't afford, we help them out. So we help them physically, academically, spiritually. So life there, the church is everything to them. It's not just, hey, I go to church on Sunday. Church is every day and everything for your physical, for your spiritual, for everything. So by the grace of God, it's amazing to see how people love the church, because like they really feel the church is everything. It's life to them. And I hope we can feel that as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's like what the church should be. That's like the fullness of, and the beauty of the Coptic Church is that it's not just spiritual, but there's a physical aspect to it. There's a, mental aspect to it. The church really does cover for, all parts of you. And so I feel like that's very important and very crucial for us to understand, and that we should push to like partake in that type of stuff and to try to push that, ministry, like even here in America. And that leads me to my next question, which is like, what do you see as the biggest difference between the service in America and in countries like Zambia?
That's a great question. You know why? Because I ask myself, and people ask me every day, they said, how is Zambia and what is the difference? Like the same question you just asked. And one big thing, I'll say it this way. One big thing I loved about Zambia is that we all lived together in community. We saw each other every day. Everyone, the members, the leaders, the deacons. I saw the priests, the deacons, the servants. I saw the congregation. And we had a nice mix of Egyptian, Zambian, Ethiopian, Eritrean in our church. It was a nice multicultural group, and we saw each other every day or every other day. We lived together in community. We ate together. We fought together. We cried together. We had fun together. It's like everything. So it's like your family. I think what I had to get used to, I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I had to get used to in America is that I'll see you on Sunday liturgy, and I'll see you like for 15, 30 minutes after And that's kind of the extent of how much we're together. And I understand because America has different busyness and things like that, but I like the life of community. If we can figure out here how to really live together more often. And you say, no, I'm busy. I never, the Google Calendar or whatever, I never used my phone calendar once in Zambia. We just live together. We're always together. But here, I'll schedule you on, August, it's like 3 months ahead, August 16 at so-and-so time. I'm like, it's like you really, like here you can barely see people. And if you do see them, you have to schedule like 6 months in advance or 3 months in advance. And so that's the positive of Zambia. Maybe the negative here, but the positive here is that it's so nice to see how many young people love God and you guys are doing this podcast at high school. Like that's amazing. You guys are intelligent, you're spiritual, you guys love God, and I feel like the young generation is ready to do something great for God. So I think whoever's listening, I feel like there's more to come, and I can't wait to see it. And that's one big difference. I feel like there's something great brewing over here, and I'm excited to see it.
Thank you, Buna. And I'd like to say, like, back to your point about like the community of Africa. I remember Buna Bashoy, who was Zambian priest. He used to always say, in Africa, there's an F for family. In America, there's a me and I, and there's no F for family. So I feel like that's like a constant reminder to us that like life in America is very like individualistic. There's not that sense of connection and community. And we actually talked about this on the podcast on previous episodes about the inability for us to connect, whether that because of technology or just the way how life is. And I would like to get your thoughts on the role that technology plays in our like human connection.
Yeah, I think technology, I don't want to say technology is bad, but technology everything needs a limit. Okay, that's what I would say. Like, too much of anything is not good. Focus too much on money, too much on food. Some of us love food. Eat and eat and eat. And some of us like, so too much of anything we're not balanced. And the problem is we have this thing in our hand that gives us access to everything. There's got to be a way that we limit it. We don't let it control our life. It's not my life. Yeah, I'm grateful I have it. It can help me in so many ways, but it's not my life. So I would just say, I know technology has a negative connotation. It can be great for evangelism. It can be great to share with people. You can use technology in a very positive way. But I would say my number one thing, and I don't want to prolong this point, but limit the use of it and use it for the glory of God. And I say, okay, we're just kind of flipping through this, flipping through that. I think even if you love Instagram or TikTok or whatever, we can use that for the glory of God. We don't just have to, just like be like everybody else. So I would say limit it so it doesn't occupy all our life and use it for the glory of God. I would just say that's 2 quick points, but you guys know that already.
Yeah. So actually, Munna, I would like to get your thoughts on this. So right now we are on like a little mission trip, here we're serving
Georgia.
in Georgia. Yes, sorry. What are your thoughts? Like, we've been here for 1 day. So your first day, what have you thought? Like, what are the thoughts that have come to your mind? What are the meditations that have come upon you? And like, what do you really see as like the benefit that you've had so far? Like, what did you get out of today?
Question.
So what did you get out of today?
Like the talk we had, or the talk yesterday actually, was about wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoyed that talk about wisdom, because we should all have. No, I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but actually, the talk about wisdom that we had yesterday was very good, dude. I don't know.
All right. So what did?
I guess hold on.
Okay.
We did today serve in the field, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we did serve today, and we sat with interns.
Yes.
They were like refugee interns,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So I think the connection that I got with a specific refugee, like we went out during the game to play the scavenger hunt, and I think we really connected, and like we didn't exchange numbers, but hopefully we will. But I really enjoyed how we conversated back and forth, and we really got to know each other. So I think the connection that me and him had was really good.
Yeah, I'll agree 100%. And I remember like when I went to Zambia, like the connections I made, not just with the people I was serving in Zambia, but the people who I served with. Those connections, I mean, I still talk to, a lot of people I served with today, and even some of the people that I did serve in Zambia. I still talk to a few of them. And it's that shared connection and that shared bond, like what we're talking about today, like with the at the lunch, we're talking about like those relationships go a really long way, and you learn so much. Like Ruffy said this on the podcast. He said, the service doesn't need you; you need the service.
And I hear you say it every time we go and serve.
Because
I always have it in the back of my head.
And it's a really powerful saying, because it's like what Abuna said, like he went to Zambia trying to be the superhero, when in reality, like he gave it to God, and he was the one that was being helped in the end. And I feel like that's very important when it comes to service and just life in general, that you can't always be like the center of everything. You can't be the center of your thoughts. You have to make God the center of your thoughts. And like you're like,
how do we do that though?
When I'll ask you that question,
Yeah,
how do we do that?
How do we make God the center of our thoughts?
I mean, I think that sometimes we think that here's my life in school, here's my life at home, and here's my life at church, or here's my life wherever. And the problem with that is that we act so different in every one of them. Like if you're at home with your family, how do you act?
Respectful. Like
really? How do you really act?
Yeah.
By the way, they say when you're at home, that's who you really are. Your guard is down. You might say something to your parents a certain way. You might say something to your sister or brother. Like what I'm saying is, like at home you can let loose, and you kind of like, that's who you probably really are. In front of the priest at church, or right now in front of me. How are you right now? And what if I leave and you're hanging out with the guys? How would you be? Like it's a little bit different. I mean, so I think that like you don't have to separate your school life, your work life, your church life, your fun life. It doesn't have to be. It's under the same umbrella. My life is like, all my life is yours, and these are just parts of it, right? It's the same house, different rooms, but it's the same house, right? We have to make sure that we put God in every room in the house. We can't let it be, don't compartmentalize like each room to be separate. And I think that when you're at school, why not like say, God, I need you in this school today. Why not have your thoughts thinking about him more? It's a Christ-centered life, right? Our life can be me-centered, which is probably most of us, or it can be Christ-centered. It's like everything you're thinking about is like, I'm making this decision because I'm putting you in the forefront, right? It's basically like you're here and all your life is there, but in between is who? Is Christ. So like you can't get to there without going through him. So that's what we want to get to, right? As young people, we want to, like, God, I want you to be part of everything of my life. I don't want to be different. I want to be the same here, 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 here. You know why you should be the same in all those 4 places? Is because there's the same God who's standing right in front of you, right there. Like you're not like invisible to God when you're at home. You're not invisible God when you're in your room by yourself. You're not invisible when you're joking around with your buddies at school, and you're kind of like, we all say different things. He is ever present. So now it's our job to put him there, like to not put him there, to remember him that he is there. And that's when we kind of like, God, I need you in this, and I need you in that. So I think it's different. Make your life Christ-centered and not me-centered. And that changes things.
Yeah, what you said right now actually reminded me of James chapter 2, the chapter we read today. Excuse me.
You're good.
Where it said, I don't remember the word, but it said something about the rich man in the church being in the very front, but the poor man has more faith, but they like throw him to the corner or something. That you should always have
like to not show partiality to one another.
Partiality, that was the word. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what we do. And we do partiality all in our life, but and when we include God in every part of our life, then we're going to treat everybody the same. We're going to be respectful to everybody, not just, So it's important to do that. Thanks for bringing that up.
No problem.
You're paying attention, man, in the readings and stuff. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with like what you said earlier about like, realizing that, your life is it's all the same God. And I feel like that's something that I've been trying to overcome, is that like double-mindedness, that like you're two different people, you know, you're a different person from every single different crowd. And that's something that like I know like that a lot of people struggle with, including myself, and that it's something that, you know, you always try to work on. And it's honestly very, very hard to like not be a different person in front of different people. So how would you like what advice would you give to someone who's like trying to act the same way, like act in a Christ-like way in environments where that's not necessarily encouraged?
Yeah. I think the first thing is that when you are trying to be Christian in a place that's not encouraged, they have to know that you're a real person. Like, we never want people to feel that you're above them. You know, Christianity gets a bad name, by the way. Mm-hmm. People think that Christians are judgmental. Oh, you're better than me, so you're saying that. So number one, we got to, like, you know how it says St. Paul became a Jew so he can win the Jew, and he became like a Jew. So he became all things to all people to save some. So, like, we need to build relationships with people. We can't make them feel that we're judging them or we're better than them. Let's be honest. Sometimes in our mind we think, oh, I don't do that. I'm better. Like, we might even say in our heart, I'm better than you because I don't do what you do. But I think people need to, first of all, we were talking about this today earlier, we need to build relationships with people. And then second, don't make them feel judged. You know? And actually, as a Christian, even as a priest, I'm telling you right now, I learned that I want to be open with you guys that I make mistakes. Yeah, I'm trying to be a priest. I'm a Christian. I'm the leader of the church, but I make mistakes. I have weaknesses. I want to be kind of open about that. I don't want to think that I'm up here and you're down here and I'm trying to teach you something. No, we're all in the same boat. We're all kind of beggars trying to, you know, we're hungry for God. We all need food and we all need strength. We're all in the same position of, hey, we have some brokenness in our life that we need God to heal. We're all there. So as a Christian, if you're dealing with someone you're trying to be different or you're trying to be unique or stand out, you definitely have to have a good relationship with them, but you definitely have to be real and let the people know that, hey, I love God, but I'm still a work in progress. I don't have it all figured out. I love God and I want to live my life. And they might say, oh, you're a Christian. You're saying you said a curse word. Oh, you did that. But you say, look, hey, I'm a Christian and I love God and I make mistakes, but I'm trying to walk that walk. I'm trying to live that life, right? So I think just being real, build relationships and be real, and let people know that we're all in the same shoes and we're trying to get somewhere together. You know, I think that authentic is the key word. Is that when people know you're authentic, they want to know more and they want to hear from you. But if they feel like you're some fake hypocrite or somebody up here, they can't connect with you.
Yeah, and I agree. And like, for me personally, I've noticed that like vulnerability in general is very hard to come by nowadays. Like, a lot of people like keep themselves, stay private. But I've noticed in my personal life, like, in order to build those connections, in order to really have a real relationship with a person, in order to really like lead someone in the right direction who's Christian or not Christian, you have to be vulnerable and you have to be willing to be open and to talk about, you know, like your struggles openly. You can't just be like a closed book. Obviously, like, be wise about who you tell what
That's
to,
right.
But you can't just be a closed book forever because, you know, it's not human.
Yeah. It's better not to preach, but to share what's going on in your life, and don't preach to them and tell them you need to be like this. But never say you, by the way. That's one thing. Say me or we, but never say you need to do that. Even in my preaching in Zambia, I used to say, you need to change and you need to, and I was like, wait a minute. And I said, I need to do that. And I changed my way of preaching to be about me, not about them. And that impacts them as well.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Zambia, the first piece of advice I got was, like that first day I was there, like full day when we went out and we preached to people's houses. First thing I did, really got put on the spot. We go to the first house, you know, one of the other people. So I was the last one to go. So we were like 5 houses in, and right before we walked inside, Chris, I don't know if you remember him. He told me, he was like, you know, the one thing you should do, talk about something that you've experienced. So I went in there. I honestly don't remember what I said, but I remember like leaving that feeling better about the fact that I said something about like myself, and I was able to be vulnerable with people that I don't know more than like, you know, I was preaching or something like that. For me, that step is really what I guess made that trip so enjoyable for me, is that for that entire trip, I was able to be real, to be personable, and to really like put myself out there. Because if you think about it, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you know, there's nothing bad that'll come out of being a real human being. So
Yeah, people connect with that. They want to hear from you. You can go preach a verse in the Bible, which is good, but when you add what that verse means to you and how it's impacted you, or that's when people open up and they want to hear more, and it's more impactful for both sides, right? For you and for the one you're.
For sure, I agree 100%. All right, well, thank you, Abuna, for being on the podcast. Hopefully we'll see you another time and we can get you on again.
Thank you.
It was an honor and a pleasure to have you.
It's my honor. You guys are the best. I'm so proud of you guys, what you're doing. Keep doing it. Everyone who's listening, share this, and these guys are the best, and I'm so honored to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abuna. All right, that's it.